Ian Gibaut. Ian Gibaut. Ian.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Reds. My name is Jeff Carr. His name is Steve Offenbaker. And right now we're not that happy with Ian Gibaut. We are lifelong Cincinnati Reds fans, and we have been podcasting about these Reds for a combined 14 years now. And we're happy that the season is back and we've already got a lot to talk about. We're going to get into our reaction for one of the weirdest bullpen decisions I've ever seen on opening day. That's what we'll start off today's show with. We will get into the lineup. Some good, some bad, some concerning. And we will look at how the Reds can win the weekend against Justin Verlander and Robbie Ray coming up in the next couple of days. That's coming up later on in today's show that is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. And Steve, where we're going to begin here today is Ian Gibaut. And we were both at the game. And I think both of us at different times were jumping up and down, screaming Ian Gibaut's name. And it wasn't out of joy because, quite frankly, I don't understand it. And I know that there were some, rah-rah moments apparently behind the scenes before the game that led to maybe how Terry Francona made this decision. But I still don't understand it.
I don't understand it at all. You look at the way that the back half of this game played out, and even if Terry Francona made all the decisions he made leading up to Ian Gibaut, when he went to Gibaut to close out the game, he still had Sam Moll.
Yep.
He still had Taylor Rogers.
Yep.
He still had Graham Ashcraft.
Yep.
All of which I think would have been better choices to close out the first game of the season and get the Reds a win. Now, look, I know this is game one of 162. And I saw the people on X and telling me to slow my roll because I was so upset. But here's the thing. Tito Francona had an opportunity to instantly change the narrative. He had the opportunity to instantly grab the momentum, to use all of the buildup and all of the offseason excitement about having him as the manager of this team, grab a hold of that and charge forward. And at least for a day, have these Cincinnati Reds in first place.
Yep.
Okay. And instead he did that thing that makes us think of every other manager in this town. This was David Bell-esque.
Yeah.
This was Brian Price-esque, to not use the best player in the best situation to have the most success. Now, I know we learned that Ian Gibaut, as soon as Alexis Diaz was going to the IL, Ian's like, pick me. I want to be the closer. Pick me.
Which is all well and good.
Cool.
But
you still have to put players in the best situations to make them the best version of themselves, and ultimately this team better than it was before.
Yes.
All of those other guys would have been better in this situation. I don't get it. Francona has said, I'm not going to run around and see if people agree with my decisions or not. I'm just going to make the best decisions that I think I can make. This was not one of them.
No, and I think it's interesting because, he said that he had that quote after the game where he's like, I'm not going to check to make sure everybody agrees with these decisions. But I felt like if he would have stood up from the dugout and turned around to section 129 and 130 and all that behind him and been like, let's see, what do you think, guys? Ian Gibaut or Taylor Rogers? 100% of people would say not Ian Gibaut.
Even if Ian Gibaut's family had been in that section, they would have said pitch Taylor Rogers.
It was just an obvious pick there. And so then he blows up, and the Reds had a little bit of a comeback there in the bottom of the ninth, but it just wasn't going to be enough because Ian Gibaut blew up. He gave up 4 runs.
Let me ask you this. Notwithstanding the decision to put Ian Gibaut out there, do you feel like he also waited way too long to go to Sam Moll to go get him? I don't understand both of those decisions. Not only going with him, but then was it like doubling down? Was he like, no, he's gonna work through it. No, he's gonna get it. He's gonna do it.
There must have been a feeling, and Francona has said that he does do a lot of the feeling when it comes to managing a ball game. A lot of it is just how guys are looking, how excited they are, how hungry they are, and stuff like that. But I feel like Ian Gibaut being the last guy on the roster, the guy that replaces Alexis Diaz on the injured list, if you want to give him a shot in the ninth, maybe still have somebody warmed up behind it in case things like what happened. And it was funny because, Gibaut strikes out the first guy And so, because the whole time I'm just sitting there with my face in my hands in my seat, and I'm like, why is this the decision? And his first guy, he strikes out. I'm like, okay, maybe. And then everything goes to pot after that. I feel like this was a little bit of Terry Francona being like, I know how this goes and I know how I can get this to work. And if this works out, then everyone's going to completely believe in me. But instead, it was this heat check that airballed. And now everybody's just like, you guys were telling us that Terry Francona's worth 5 more wins and he gave us 1 more loss on opening day.
Let's be clear. We're not on already trying to run Tito Francona out of town.
No.
We're still upgraded at the manager position, but I question this. I don't get it, and I don't think that the beat writers are going to press hard on this issue. I don't think anybody's going to give him a lot of pushback. I wish somebody
would. We see Ian Gibaut in the 9th on Saturday. I hope they do.
I really just don't understand, because it just feels like a tremendously wasted opportunity to really get things going in a positive direction and on the right foot. We can talk all off season that we want about how great things could be and how things look. And really this team was in position to close out a 1-run game on opening day and get a win and be in first place and do all the things. And they squandered it all.
Well, and the other counterpoint to the feeling of, okay, Ian Gibaut really wanted this. You don't think Taylor Rogers wanted to pitch against his former team
100%.
That traded him for like next to nothing to the Reds? I mean, the Reds got a really good deal in that trade. I feel like if I were Taylor Rogers, I was like, put me in, coach. Let's go. I want to get these guys. I don't know. There's no way that I look at this and I can make sense of the decision. And I think this being game 1, it's easy for us to overreact to it because this is the one game that we've seen. Hopefully we continue to see other games that lead us to believe that what we had said all off season is correct. It's just, it feels like this first game, he really kind of tested that.
Well, and like I told you yesterday, as we were grousing our way to find some shepherd's pie across the river, if this had been some random game in May, I wouldn't have felt it as much as I felt it, but this was supposed to be the new beginning. This was supposed to be that fresh start, that new hope, that era of excitement. And I just felt totally deflated.
Yes.
And just felt like I had the rug jerked right out from under me. And I know a lot of fans left the stadium feeling that way. And I think the problem with that is that now has lasting effects, because even if they go out and beat Verlander tomorrow, there's still going to be that opening day letdown, that hangover of
you got to win the next two.
You got to win the next two now, because you got to win the series. We talk about all the time, like, you're not going to go undefeated. You got to win series. So now they find themselves in a position where they've got to beat Verlander. They got to beat Robbie. And we're going to get into that here coming up in a little bit. I feel like that maybe this is also part of Francona learning his personnel now in game situations. He's met him in the offseason. He's talked to him in the meeting room. He's seen him in spring. None of that really matters. That's not how guys perform. Spring training is not the same. I hope that what he may have seen was he deployed Tony Santillan too early. Ian Gibaut should have actually pitched where Tony Santillan pitched, and then everybody pushes back one, and we're having a different conversation today. We're having a, they won conversation.
Right.
So I think that there is an element of Tito learning his staff. So then the question is, what was Derek Johnson doing while all this was going on? Did anybody go, Tito, Ian, are you sure?
He's been here.
Like,
before,
I don't know. I don't know what happened there, where the breakdown was. It's a long season. They do have time to figure it out, but it's not going to take away the bit of disappointment that I feel for how things played out, just because I feel like they missed a tremendous opportunity to kind of steer the narrative for at least the next couple series, and to build momentum. A bit of a disappointment in Francona, because we did that thing we do, right? We do it with the players. We've done it with Francona. We put the expectation bar all the way up here, and it was pretty hard to meet that, but he was in position to meet it until he wasn't.
The vibes, they were immaculate, and now it feels like they kind of have to rebuild them a little bit. But I know this. Ian Gibaut was a big reason that the Reds ended up losing, but it wasn't the only reason that the Reds lost that game. There was a little bit of everything that put into it, and part of that was the lineup. There was some good, there was some bad, and there was a few concerning things. We're going to break down what those were coming up next.
There's nothing better than catching an MLB game live, even when the Reds blow it in the top of the ninth. The roar of the crowd, the smell of the ballpark food. If you're looking for a last-minute deal, Game Time makes tickets easier than ever. With last-minute deals, all-in pricing, and low price guarantee, Game Time takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, ticket prices drop as Game Time gets closer, meaning you can score incredible deals. You and I go down to the banks all the time, grab a drink, and right before first pitch, grab our tickets, walk right into the stadium. It's that easy. You can look at the view from your seat before you ever buy, so you know exactly what you're going to get. They have Game Time Picks feature, which is a deal that kind of gives you the best deals in the stadium, so you don't have to search for them yourself. They make it so easy. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create your account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Thanks as always for making Locked On Reds your first listen every single day. And all this week, it's been like first and second listen. We've had a ton of content on the channel. Make sure that you become an everydayer. If you're not, shout out to those of you who are. But if you're not an everydayer, make sure you hit subscribe. That way you don't miss anything we've got coming for you, because we're going to be with you it's been the off season. Now it's not the off season. All season long.
Started, Jeff.
Can we get a do-over though?
Mulligan.
I'll take a mulligan.
Mulligan
anyway,
for sure.
Thanks for being a part of today's show with us.
All right. Listen, before we dive back into this, just want to say a quick congratulations to Tim Daniel. Yes, crushed absolutely. The postcast last night. I hope everybody had a chance to see that. You know, that's what you can expect now in the channel, guys. After every game, Tim's going to be going live, telling you what we just saw, kind of breaking down the performances. And then Jeff and I are going to circle in the next day and give you the big picture look at what it all means. So make sure you're checking that out, because Tim did a great job with it.
It's the Locked On Reds postcast live after every game. So all right, we definitely bagged on Terry Francona's decision to use Ian Gibaut in the ninth inning, but that was not the only reason that the Reds lost. I have said, and there's been a couple of people that have pressed me on this, that they wanted to know, what does the lineup have to do to make sure that this team gets to its ultimate goal? Because the lineup is the biggest question mark for everyone. And I said, I think they need to average 4.5 runs per game, because I think they can hold the opponent to 4 runs or less in most circumstances. And they didn't do that. They scored 4 runs. So when you look at how this season is going to play out, they need to continue to average about 4.5. So the rest of this weekend, we need to see them score 5 or more. Simply because I don't think we're always going to have that clean performance. Hunter Green looked good, even though after the game he said that his breaking stuff wasn't working for him super well. So he had to rely on the fastball. But he looked pretty good.
Struck out 8.
And bullpen's going to bullpen. As strong as I think the bullpen is, relief pitching is a fickle thing. Mm-hmm. I say that all the time. Everydayers will know. So the lineup's got to go. And when the lineup has its chances, like it had in the third inning, and Gavin Lux runs into that third out, that's where you run into problems.
Yeah, you can't do stuff like that. And those are the mistakes that they're supposed to be eliminating, right?
Yes.
And I chalk that up to like some opening day adrenaline, trying to make a good impression.
Everybody's wondering why he's hitting cleanup, so he's got to prove it.
That's what I chalk that up to. I don't think we'll see a lot of that from Gavin Lux over the course of the season.
I agree.
You look up and down the lineup, and you can identify the spots where there were failures, right? Yeah. And they're single game failures. It doesn't make me concerned as much for the season, but single game failures nonetheless. Matt McClain going 0 for 5. Right, he struck out twice, but he hit the ball hard. That last one, that probably is a home run.
Swallowed.
It's probably a home
that
run.
One too. Yeah.
His last hit that would have tied the game probably was a home run in July. There were a couple of those balls yesterday. You look at that; that's a problem. Spencer Steer, more concerning. 0 for 4.
Didn't look good.
Didn't get a lot of reps in spring. Missed a lot of time. Bat speed wasn't there.
Yeah,
it's going to take him a minute.
That was my biggest concern.
And hopefully he's able to put that together sooner than later. You know, Friedl going 0 for 4. He didn't strike out any, but still an 0 for kind of day. Couple things that didn't look super impressive. You know, Trevino was great behind the plate, but an 0 for at the plate as well. Did draw a walk, get on base one time. Those are all areas that can be improved, and this lineup will score more, because you look at some of the things that went exactly like they were supposed to. TJ Friedl, 2 for 5. On base a couple times, able to set the table. Elly, on base. He was 1 for 3, scored a couple runs,
Had a
draw a walk.
Yep.
He did the things he was supposed to do. Jamer Candelario. Now that's been the big question mark, right?
Is he going to bounce back?
Incredibly small sample size, but it's the beginning of a season where he is notoriously bad. And for the beginning of the season, opening day, 2 for 3, 3 RBIs. He drew a walk, only struck out once.
Yep.
If he can maintain that type of performance level where he's on base a couple times, 3 times a game, this team's going to be okay. So there were a lot of things to look at within the lineup and be like, there's some good things to build upon. In the case of Matt McClain's offer, he was hitting the ball hard. I'm not worried about that at all. He's going to get his
strikeouts
hits.
are going to come because he strikes out, but he hitting the ball hard is the key.
So it brings me back into Spencer Steer, where my big area of concern right now is until somebody comes back that can spell him a little bit. I'm a little bit worried about him in the lineup.
To buoy the concern, there was something that I loved, and I think we're going to continue to see it. Logan Webb is a crazy efficient pitcher. We were previewing the game, and I said that he had 5 starts in Great American Ballpark, and he had 5 walks, or 5 starts against the Reds, not at Great American Ballpark, but against the Reds in his career. And he had 5 walks against the Reds in his career. The Reds drew 3 walks off of him last night, and I think that is a pattern we will see continue. Elly De La Cruz was super patient all spring training. He looked super patient at the plate. Even though it was opening day again, and he got the loudest cheer of anybody every time he came to the plate, when he was announced pregame, all of that stuff, but he did not let that affect his game. He didn't overextend himself, try to hit the ball to the river, things that we saw him do last year. He really looked a lot measured and a lot more balanced during the game, but his patience was the team's patience. They forced Logan Webb to throw, I think it was like over 30 pitches in that first inning. And for the first 3 innings, I believe, Logan Webb was almost doubled up on pitches compared to Hunter Green, which has always been the opposite. Hunter Green's always the guy that's doubling up the other guy when it comes to his pitch count. So I thought that was such a great thing to see. And I think we'll continue to see it this whole season with Chris Valleca as the hitting coach and Terry Francona managing the entire team. Patience is going to be a virtue for this lineup.
Another guy we didn't talk about that we should probably at least make mention of and talk about for a second is Christian Encarnacion.
The dude.
2 for 4, looked comfortable, looks
solid
like he's back, looks ready to go.
Yeah, he had some solid line drive hits. I expect those line drives are going to start aiming up a bit, and he's going to be hitting some homers this year. That's the guy that I think we were all being told was getting here last year, and then he got hurt. And I firmly believe that it was the injury that sapped his 2024. It wasn't a inability to hit the ball. I think he showed us yesterday, I'm back, I'm ready to go, and this season's going to be really fun for him.
Yeah, I'm excited to see his bat speed looked great. He looked comfortable. Didn't, those things we watch for. We talk about this. No flexing of the wrists, things that made us go, uh-oh, what's going on there? And now the question is, does the power come? And does the power come like we think that it's going to? Hard in Cincinnati in March and early April to drive the ball out of this ballpark.
Just knocking you down.
It'll come, but I think that we shouldn't put a lot of pressure on these early games for CES to put on a power display based on those kind of things. But I think the power is going to come. I think that, I really believe we weren't overshooting the mark when we said that he could be a 30, 35 home run guy as early as this season. I think that power is actually there, and it's going to show itself.
That's going to be a huge factor for can this team get to where we want it to be, is the power. And honestly, I was a little bit concerned that the fact that the lineup went quiet in the second half of the ball game, we didn't see a lot of pressure put on the Giants bullpen. But the Giants as a pitching staff, as Ben Kaspick said whenever we had our crossover the other day, they all throw strikes. They just fill up the strike zone. It's not just Logan Webb. It's everybody on their team. They don't walk a lot of guys. So when the Reds were able to do that early, I feel like the Giants pitching staff adjusted and they said, all right, strikes all day. Let's see what we got. And then they just weren't able to get the hits off of those pitches. There were a couple of bad luck line drives that guys caught on the infield, or it was a hard hit ball straight in an outfield or something like that. So there was a little bit of BABIP going on. So I think that stuff's going to be okay. But overall, I think a bit of a mediocre day for the lineup as a whole, and they got to get better.
Yeah, they do have to get better. Credit to the 4 of 7 that they did get with runners in scoring position. But they also did leave 7 on base, right? So they left a lot of runs out there. That
they had opportunities.
The chances were there. Exactly. All right, listen, Jeff, this I know. One game the season does not make, but we have talked about time and time again that in order to make the playoffs, in order to go to the postseason, you have to win series.
Yep.
So now the Reds find themselves in the position where they're going to have to beat Verlander on Saturday and they're going to have to beat Robbie on Sunday. Two pretty good pitchers. And we're going to talk about how they can do that coming up next.
Baseball season is back, which means that daily fantasy sports is now better than ever because you can check out PrizePicks. They've got the best selection when it comes to daily fantasy sports because all you have to do is pick your favorite players, pick some statistics like total bases or hitter fantasy score, pitcher fantasy score, and click more or less. It's that simple. The number's set for you, and then you just click more or less. There's no competing against all of these other people, thousands of other people in daily fantasy. You compete against the computer, and when you win, you get your winnings easily. I'm even looking at a couple right now. Nick Martini, old friend, playing for the Colorado Rockies today. His over, under, or more or less total bases 0.5. I think I'm clicking more on that. I feel like a single. I mean, he did have a great opening day for the Reds last year, so could work. Check out PrizePicks today and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's PrizePicks. Download the app and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game.
Can't catch us here on YouTube, make sure you take us on the road with you. We're on pretty much every single audio podcasting platform out there. If you find one we're not on, let Jeff know. He'll make it happen. Take us in the car, take us to the gym, take us everywhere you go. We want to talk Reds baseball with you. And speaking of talking Reds baseball with you, what a turnout down at the Banks yesterday and in the Dora. And we met so many people that are everydayers. Such a good time running into people and talking baseball.
Trying to remember them all. Marcus, Tyler, ran into Jacob Hurtubis's dad on the concourse, or no, his father-in-law on the concourse. Said he's an everydayer. Says he loves the Padres. So hey, shout out Jacob Hurtubis's father-in-law. So many great people. Always love getting to say hey down at the ballpark or around wherever. If you guys see us, absolutely okay to come up and be like, yo, what's up? How about them red legs? So
I think everywhere we went around town yesterday, we ran into people that are watching the show and listening to the show. And that's just that just wow, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you being here.
Glad you guys care to listen to a couple of jerks like us talking about the Reds. But I know this, Steve. This weekend is important because, you know, like you said, can't win every ball game, but you need to win as many series as you possibly can. 2 out of 3 get you to the playoffs if you do that over the course of an entire season. So they got to go undefeated the next 2 days.
They do, and they're facing Verlander on Saturday. And listen, I know Verlander is now 42 years old. Wonder. He's coming off of not a great season down in Houston, where he put up a negative WAR and in 17 starts. I get it, but he's still Justin Verlander. He still knows how to do it.
He's got that dog in him.
And the Reds are going to have to work to beat him. And I think that the fact that Verlander is really motivated to try and put together as many wins as possible. He's staring at an outside shot of maybe trying to
I think
stick around for a few more years to get his win total up, right? Yeah. I don't know if he's gonna reach it. He sits at 262 right now. I don't know if he's got 40 more wins in the tank, but it's a big ask.
Got to get 38 wins, and you're not getting 20 wins.
But he's clearly a Hall of Famer. He's clearly, there's a reason that teams are still giving him money and asking him to pitch. So I think the Reds have to go out there again with that patient approach. They can't press. They're going to have to take advantage of what he gives them. And if they can do that and get to him early and make him throw a lot of pitches, they have a tremendous opportunity to then force their way into the bullpen and make things happen.
Yeah.
Patience is going to be the key.
And he's still got that ability. I mean, you remember early on in his career, he'd be a guy that would be the 6th, 7th inning. He was still reaching back, hitting 98, hitting 99. He's still got that ability because dude is just in amazing shape. He's always done a very good job of his own personal conditioning. So that's something that the Reds are going to have to take into account and get him to use up that energy early on so that they can get into the bullpen and start pushing it. Because even if you got a good bullpen, you can get up on a bullpen if you force them to throw a lot of innings. And yesterday they threw 4 innings, just like the Reds bullpen threw 4 innings. So see if they can push it some more, maybe even get them to throw 5 innings on Saturday. That'd be a good one. And then Sunday, you got Robbie Ray, which, as we were prepping for today's show, came up with the term Robbie box of chocolates, because
you never know what you're going to get.
If you look at his career, man, like 2021 Cy Young, 6.9 WAR for Toronto, absolutely fantastic season. The rest of his career, he has 10 WAR combined for the rest of the 10 seasons that he's pitched. So you're talking about a dude that's always been up and down. He has elite stuff. Can he be consistent with it? Again, patience is a virtue for this lineup on Sunday.
He's made 8 starts in the last 2 years. He's not thrown a lot. So that's an opportunity for the Reds. I think that he's still going to be trying to find himself a little bit. He's still going to be, it's early in the season. Again, this is where patience can pay off, both with Verlander and Ray. If you look at this, it's early in the season. Managers aren't going to let a pitcher have a couple of 30-pitch innings and continue to press. They're going to go to the pen early this point in time in the season. That's where the Reds can make this happen. They've got to get to them early, make them throw a lot of pitches in the first couple innings, and then take advantage and get after that bullpen. I think it can be done, and I'm still excited about this Reds lineup. I think that they match up well with what the Giants are going to try and do over the next couple days, but it's pivotal that they win this series. I think they have to help make up, I guess. I don't know how I want to phrase that, but to undo some of the damage of that opening day debacle, the way that ended. They get a series win. They start moving forward. The narrative is fixed a little bit.
And it's going to be different for them because, especially some of the newcomers and the guys that experienced their first ever opening day in the Cincinnati Reds uniform. Now comes the weekend after opening day. And we know from experience that the weekend after opening day can be pretty chill, especially when you've seen the weather report that we've got. Saturday and Sunday are supposed to just be awful weather days.
Great.
How they get the ball game in is going to be interesting. But that means that there's not going to be a ton of people down at the ballpark. And I know we're going to see people on Twitter and all this other stuff. That's just how it is in early season ball games. And it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with that different energy.
They do have an opportunity, I think, for a little bit of redemption and talking about who's down at the ballpark. If the weather cooperates at all, Saturday's kids opening day, there'll be a lot of families down at the ballpark. Sunday, on the other hand, if the weather is bad, it could be like me, you, and a couple other dudes at the stadium, and that might just be it. But I think, everybody's going to be at home watching on TV. Everybody's paying attention right now. And if they can turn this around with a series win these next 2, we're okay. Everybody can take a breath and relax and move on into this. Yes, move into that Rangers series with a little bit of momentum.
And I'm saying that to myself, too, because I need to RELAX after that opening day loss, because that was just so – it felt like they had it, man. It felt like they were right there. And they had a chance to get that opening day win and just keep the vibes rolling. And that's why we're so frustrated with it. But there's still plenty of games, plenty of time. That's one thing that you get with the MLB regular season is you get a lot of time to make up for it.
So let's real quick talk about what folks can expect from the Reds. We've talked about the pitching lineup that the Giants are running out there. We got Nick Lodolo going on Saturday. Big start for him. Looking forward to seeing how he performs down there. And then we're getting Nick Martinez, which is a little surprising to me. We get Nick Martinez on Sunday instead of Brady Singer. That caught me off guard a little bit. What's your reaction to that?
I think it's something because the Giants really are very aggressive at the plate. I think what they're doing with that is they're putting Nick Martinez in there, who's really good at hitting the corners. And then they're going to have Brady Singer, who fills up the strike zone pitch against the Texas lineup on Monday. So I kind of see that a little bit, but I don't expect that to be the way that the season kind of filters out. I kind of expect Singer to be ahead of Martinez overall. But I'm not mad about it. Hey, that just means you got the Nick weekend, right?
Right, Nick, yeah.
Nickelodeon.
Oh, my goodness. And on that note, that is probably a great spot to go ahead and wrap up this edition of Locked On Reds. Thanks so much for making us your first listen every day. Everydayers, I think on Monday we are going to do a live.
Yep.
We're going to do our first live of the season.
Try to do that every Monday.
Try to kind of preview the upcoming series and recap the weekend. Yep. So in the meantime, check your feeds. Tim Daniel will be there for you after the game Saturday and Sunday for instant reaction to what you just saw. So make sure you have clicked subscribe, the notification bell, subscribe on the audio side. We're going to keep gathering up all the news and the information. We'll come right back here on Monday to keep you locked on Reds every single day.
What was your favorite Nickelodeon show, Steve?
What's the one with the slime, man?
That was like the in-between thing.
The slime.
That wasn't the show. That was an in-between thing. I'm talking about
I'm talking about
SpongeBob
1980s
SpongeBob
Nickelodeon, dude.
or
Like you don't
Rugrats
know.
or
You don't know about the 1980s
Doug
Nick.
or All Real Monsters.
You don't understand. I'm an OG.
I